السلام عليكم ورحمة الله my dear students طلاب المرحلة الثانوية والإعدادية
لحظة
طلاب المرحلة الثانوية والإعدادية بنكمل إن شاء الله what we have started main if conditionals and its alternative. Now let's know second conditional. احنا عرفنا طبعا if as we have said 0 first second third we have explained 0 and first. Now to complete or to continue our explanation for the second condition. Second conditional, if plus past simple and the consequence clause should have would, could, might plus infinitive. When if is in middle position, after it past simple, before it would, could, or might plus infinitive. Let's study the examples. If you studied hard, you would succeed. Where is F clause? You studied hard. Where is the main clause? You would succeed. فعل الشرط studied. Past simple. What is the consequence? What is the result? You would succeed. So, if plus past simple, as we can see, studied, past simple, and the consequence would plus succeed. What does the second clause, the second conditional mean? It means, what does this sentence mean? You don't study hard, so you can succeed. You don't study, so you can succeed. So it expresses an unreal situation. You studied hard. If you studied hard, it means you don't study hard. You can succeed means you would succeed. This means with if that you don't or you can succeed. Now let's practice some examples. If I went to the cinema, the movie, I see, I will see, I would see. What is the verb here? Went, past simple. So should be would see because it is second condition. Number 3. If you trained well, you the match. What is the verb here? Trained. What is the tense? Past simple. So with past simple, this is second conditional. Will win, would win, will win. Supposed to be would win because it is the right choice because it's second conditional. The second conditional is used to express an unreal situation as we have just said. Now let's move to third conditional. If in initial position should be followed with past perfect and the consequence would have plus infinitive, could have plus infinitive, might have plus would have plus PB, could have plus PB, might have plus PB. If in middle position should be followed with past perfect and before it would have PP, could have PP, might have BB. Example, if you had studied hard, you would have succeeded. Where is F clause? You had studied hard. Where is the main clause? You would have succeeded. What is the verb here? What is the tense here? Had studied. Past perfect. Past perfect. So the consequence or the main clause would have succeeded. What does this case mean? It means you didn't study hard, so you couldn't succeed. Number 2, Mom would have been happy if I had succeeded. Would it if middle position? Had succeeded, past perfect. Would have been, would have plus BB. This sentence means Mom wasn't happy as I did not succeed. Now let's check some sentences. If my mother had helped me, what is the if initial position? Had helped, past perfect. So what is the right choice? Will understand, had helped will understand? No, because this is past perfect. I can't use will with past perfect. Would understand, would have understood, understands. The right answer would have understood because it is third conditional. It is third conditional. Of course, mixed conditionals can be used to express an imaginary situations or regret of criticism. Now let's move to another case for if, which is called mixed conditional. And mixed conditional means in if clause, part of the sentence is in third conditional and the other part is in the second, like this example. If I had trained hard last month, the captain would choose me in the match, in that match. What is if clause? Had trained, third conditional. What is the main clause? Would choose. This is what? How come? Was perfect? Would choose? Yes. This is called mixed conditional. Part of the sentence is in the third, the other part is in the second. When do we use it? When? How do I know? If I want to regret it, past action, and its result is clear now. What is the past action? I didn't train hard last month. This is past regret. What is the result now? The result now is that the captain did not choose me. So the captain would choose me, so the captain doesn't choose me in that match. This is third conditional, second conditional. Exercise 2. If it wasn't so cold in this country, we could have gone out yesterday. This is what if clause in second conditional. Consequence clause or main clause is in the third conditional. Could have plus maybe. When? What it is? Present regret. I regret situation now. What is the result? The result was yesterday. We could have done. So it isn't cold in the country. So we couldn't go out yesterday. Let's take an example. Choose. If I hadn't called you yesterday, أنا ما كلمتكش امبارح. You here today. Would it be? Would it have been? Won't be? Weren't. I hadn't called you yesterday. This is third conditional. What is the result? The result is today. So it's mixed conditional. So the right choice is wouldn't be. Now let's move to if alternatives. And if alternatives is unit 18 for students of secondary, of third secondary. If alternatives. First of all, let's begin with number 1 and the 0. If you heat water, it evaporates. Where is if here? Initial position, if here means like the same, so the same can use to replace if في 0. Number 2, if equals, as long as equals, so long as equals, in case equals, provided that equals, on condition that. All these conjunctions, all these connectors should be followed with a sentence that means subject and a verb. Example, as long as you study hard, you will succeed. As long as, in a state of if, the same like if, yes. What is the verb? What is the if clause? The verb in the if clause, study, present simple. What is the verb in the main clause? Will succeed. This is first condition. Can also be with second condition, yes. As long as you studied, you would. As long as you had studied, you would have succeeded. So it replaces if for first, second, and third. Number three. Supposing and imagine that you studied hard, you would succeed. Supposing and imagine replaces if in the second and third. Past simple. Would succeed, but you have to take care that supposing and imagine only in the second and third. Also, it needs two sentences, not only just one sentence separated by a comma. Suppose you had a lot of money, what would you buy? It's preferable to be in the question. And let's take this example from last year, General Secondary Exam 2019. You were in China, what food would you eat? Without? Now, suppose, now, unless, suppose, maybe, unless, now, in case of, the right answer is suppose, because it's second condition. Number 4, if it weren't for your studying hard or your hard study, you wouldn't pass. If it weren't for, it's used to replace if for second, because here wouldn't pass. What comes after this expression? Verb plus ing or noun. Number 5, if it hadn't been for, it replaces if in the third. If it hadn't been for, replaces if third conditional. Followed with studying hard, verb plus ing or noun, the consequence you wouldn't have passed. Number 6, in case of studying hard, you would pass. In case of, followed also with verb plus ing or gerund, can also be followed with noun. And in case of, replaces if first, second, and third. Number 7. Without studying hard, without your hard study, you wouldn't have passed. Without is the negative of if, should be followed with ing or noun. Number 8, should plus subject plus infinitive. Should you study hard, you will pass or you would pass. Replaces if first and second. If replaces if first, by you will pass. If replaces second, by you would pass. Were you to study, you would pass. Where, subject, where, then subject, then to, then infinitive, you would pass. It is the same as if you studied, so it replaces if second condition. 10. Where are you? I would study hard. Means if I were you. So also, where replaces if second condition. Had I enough money, I would buy a car. Second condition also. Had plus subject plus object, I would buy a car. The same as I say, if I had enough money, I would buy a car. Number 12, had I started hard, I would have passed. Here, had subject PB replaces if the third. The same like if I had studied hard. Okay. Number 13, unless you study hard, unless you studied hard, unless you had studied hard. If I say unless you study hard, you won't pass. Unless you studied, you wouldn't pass. Unless you had studied, you wouldn't have passed. This is a unless. Now let's move to regret. If only is used to refer to strong regret. If only you studied hard, you wouldn't pass. This is present regret. If only you had studied hard, you wouldn't have passed. This is present regret. This means number 1 means you don't study, so you don't pass. Number 2 means you didn't study, so that you didn't pass. Now exercise in grammar, inshallah. I am going to send you this video, the PDF for this video, in order to do the exercise on the grammar by the end of my video. Thank you very much for your listening. I hope it's very useful for you. Thank you. You can watch the video on my YouTube channel, Mr. Saeed Abu. Thank you.